Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the EKN Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network. My name's Rob Howden. David Cole joining us via satellite from the offices in Grand Rapids, Michigan. September 17th, 2019, just a couple days on from the final round of the Texas Pro Kart Challenge, rounds 5 and 6 at the gorgeous Speed Sports Racing Park in Houston, Texas. Again, our debrief podcast give us the opportunity to kind of review the action from the past weekend in podcast form. First chance you ever get a chance to listen to our content is obviously on the EKN Radio Network. You can download the mobile app from iTunes or Google Play. Later on, David Cole will turn it into podcast form. That's available right on the website itself at ekartingnews.com/podcast. Or, of course, if you've downloaded and subscribed to us on iTunes and Google Play as well, you'll go get that right to your mobile device. All right, folks, this edition of the Debrief brought to you by Acceleration Kart Racing. Acceleration Kart Racing has everything you need to go racing, from tires to helmets. They have a great website for you to order from, and kart racers ready to pick up the phone and answer your questions 6 days a week. With over 20 years of kart racing under their belts, Acceleration Kart Racing has the experience to help you succeed on the track. You can rely on them to get the parts you need when you need them. Make Acceleration Kart Racing your go-to source for everything karting. All right, David Cole. Another lazy weekend for you at home, probably doing absolutely nothing while I was baking in the heat down in Texas.
Wow, I didn't realize we were going to start off that way.
Coming in hot.
Wow, I guess, yeah, I was sitting in Texas heat. You know, that air conditioning Rob Howden Tower has got to be stifling for you, because I saw the pictures. You just sit there behind your laptop with a hat on, and you probably had a little toque, you know, just in case it got a little too cold in there. But
that's true. I shouldn't say anything about the heat because Carrie and I were in Howden's Tower, and it was probably 74 degrees. So
you got to say it was probably better than Amarillo. It was probably it was probably a better view than North Texas Kartways.
Yeah, you know what? I could see everything, pretty much everything.
You know,
the view is good.
You're right there by the pits, so it helps. You know, and the grid, because that's very key in actually doing work. You know, something that you're not accustomed to.
Well, here's the thing about the Texas Pro Kart Challenge with Carrie and Mark and Gina French. It's hammered down. Like, you know, the schedule is so tight that literally the turnaround time, I didn't have enough time to even get get the top 10 up on Facebook and Twitter before Carrie had flipped the switch and we're going green. They don't mess around. I'll tell you that.
That's because you don't have the power of manipulating the schedule. See, I've done enough races now in the 15 years of going to races. You fluff up the schedule maker a little bit, and then you bring them back down to reality when you demand what you need, and then they give it to you, and everything works out great.
This did not happen. It was start at whatever time in the morning and just hammer on through. Thankfully, there was a lunch break, but damn, the minute the track was clear, they were rolling the next group. So, and you know what? We stayed on time all weekend long. It was good. It was definitely a good weekend for sure. Let's look at it a bit here. Again, the finale for the Texas Pro Kart Challenge. Season getting underway back in March at North Texas Kartways in Denton, as you had mentioned. Mid-July, 102 to 104 degrees at Amarillo Kart Circuit. But again, those winds of West Texas and the dry heat made it a lot easier, especially when I was racing that weekend. But wrapping up the season back at the jewel of karting in Texas, Speed Sports Racing Park, fantastic facility. Of course, Alan and Jessica Rudolph always play gracious hosts. Final rounds of the championship, as I said, pretty decent weather all weekend long, mid 90s. I'd say high humidity, but it actually, with some breeze, went down to 30, 40, 50% humidity. So a lot more comfortable than I think it could have been. Series-wise, with the numbers, the one thing about the Texas Pro Kart Challenge, and Gina mentioned this at the Sunday award presentation when we were kind of doing all the champions after doing the podium for round 6. Their focus, David, has always been to prepare drivers to go national level racing. That was it. We're a SCUSA program. We want to make sure we're going to run our program like a SCUSA national, so that when you go to a Pro Tour race to try it, you're not going to feel like a duck out of water. And by doing that, they've graduated so many drivers up to the level. Back in the shifter kart days when there was lots of shifter karters, they were all running in the Pro Tour, and we're all running up front. So many of those drivers were from Texas. Same in the junior category right now. You look at the junior list, and it's all these drivers that run nationally, and a lot of the guys have gone on to run nothing but national. So it's kind of hurt them a bit, David. You know what it's like. They're developing drivers to move on. Well, the drivers are moving on. They're doing what they can to replace them with club racers looking to go regional racing. Just a bit of a soft year for sure because we had 64 entries in total.
I think the positive when you look at all the numbers is the names. There's a lot of the names that weren't there 2 years ago. And I think that's the positive direction that the Texas Pro Kart Challenge has gone with bringing new people, as you said, from the clubs level to regional racing. And that's, essentially what you need to do in order to keep striving and to keep moving is, you get some of the older people, not necessarily age wise, but people who have been in the sport a lot longer tend to move away from regional programs and either focus on national racing or not race at all. And I think that's kind of the direction that things are going in Texas because, we see different regions have different successes and different failures, and it's all it all depends on different circumstances.
It's ebbs and flows, right? There's ups and downs. 1 year you've got 34 kids in the micro class, and then the next year, because everybody graduates to mini, you only got 12, and that happened. That's just the ebbs and flows for sure. They had 9 drivers in X30 senior, 13 drivers in X30 junior with Branian Tyner and Luke Lang coming back, a couple of Texans who've done all the national and international racing. They had 11 drivers in the mini Swift, and actually a season high 10 drivers in the micro Swift category. And David, I look at Speed Sports Racing Park and Alan Rudolph's program as kind of a perfect example. They've got the rental kart program. People are in the rental karts. They're in the rental kart leagues. Then they come over to Alan's, track club series. And 2 of the drivers who ran top 5 all weekend in the X30 senior class, Joshua Leonel and Jack Scanlon, they came from the rental karts. They come from rental karts, the leagues, over to the actual competition karting side. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. That's what that 2-track deal at Speed Sports can develop. A single track, a separate track for rental karts, and then the separate track for competition karts. And I think Speed Sports is going to continue to bring more and more new people into the game.
Well, and the other side of it is a lot of people that are doing that rental kart to competition kart. A lot of them just haven't graduated outside maybe Briggs racing because I know you had 11 drivers in senior and junior for the Briggs 206 class. So that's the other side of it too, is a lot of these people aren't yet graduated to the faster categories of IAME. And then really for kids, it's either micro or mini. I mean, that's pretty much it because there hasn't been that core like grassroots regional program that has been able to establish a different level from club racing to regional racing type scenario.
And let's be real. When we're talking about karting in Texas, it's for all intents and purposes, its own country. You know what I mean? Like it's so far. It's not like where I am here in Ontario, up in Canada, where there's probably 6 clubs within a 3-hour driving distance, or maybe even 2 hours. To be honest, probably 2 hours, 5 or 6 clubs. Whereas Texas, it's Houston, it's Dallas. The track out in Amarillo, down in San Antonio. It's so spread out that if you want to commit to a regional program, you could be driving 5-6 hours sometimes to come to these races. And that just makes it tough to have people come to all the races. And that's when you look at some of these categories where, we had 10 or 11 in the Briggs 206 class this particular weekend. A total of 18 drivers have driven in the 206 senior class this year. We had all 18 drivers out to all the events. That means this big field, but not everybody's running every race. And I think we saw more momentum at the end of the season, I think, for more guys coming out.
No, I agree with that. And again, you said it's, Texas is big, but it can also draw from say Oklahoma and Kansas and Arkansas and Missouri. So it has a potential to draw in. It's just a matter of numbers. I mean, because we don't have hard evidence of the numbers of karters that are in these states, it's hard to determine what can we project our program to be.
And again, just to cap off before we go to the first break of the action here, really it comes down to regional racing feeds national racing, but it's that foundation of the pyramid, club racing, grassroots racing, that feeds regional racing. And club racing itself in Texas is kind of just stabilizing. The 206 starting to bring more drivers out. Alan Rudolph's, of course, Speed Sports Racing Park, bringing more drivers into their club program. The idea is to get more people in the clubs. And the clubs really aren't super, super strong right now in Texas. So that has not allowed, those big, let's say 80, 90, 100 driver clubs to feed a regional program. Once they get back to that, then, regional racing will step up once again. All right, folks, first commercial break in episode 56 of the EKN Debrief. Rob Howard alongside David Cole. We're talking Texas Pro Kart Challenge. When we get back, I'll jump into the paddock pass.
For over a century, Briggs & Stratton has had a commitment and passion for racing. It's a DNA found in every engine we build today. So whether you kart race, Baja, race quarter midgets, or believe that dirt and snow are just God's way of adding to the challenge, the dedicated spirit of every Briggs & Stratton employee stands at the fence waiting for the green flag to drop. Briggs & Stratton Racing. What powers you?
The shift is on to a new brand and a new way of thinking. The Croc promotion has taken American karting by storm, and simply put, we have the best kart on the market. We've won and continue to win national and regional races with a revolving door of drivers. Myers, Bedozo, French, Musgrave, and we're ready to dominate the rest of the 2019 season. We just want to win. That's it. Plain and simple. Our dynamic R&D program is more aggressive than any other manufacturer, and we're the only company focused on building the perfect chassis for American tracks, engines, and tires. Why race a kart made for Europeans? We're testing prototypes for American racing. We're breaking the mold. Croc Promotion is all about supporting dedicated and talented young drivers and winning races. That's Croc Promotion USA. That's Mad Old Nut Racing. We just want to win, plain and simple. No BS. Let us spend our time and money developing the chassis so that you can win. With over 35 years of manufacturing experience, Precision Karting Technologies is the leader in American-made components. We produce high-quality products, led by our full line of chromoly and mild steel axles. Metric or imperial, standard or custom, we have what you need. Collars, keys, bearings, we're the source for axle components in the USA. We're not just axles either. At PKT, we can manufacture motor mounts, hubs, brake rotors, and even GoPro mounts. We're also the choice for axle and chassis straightening. We've designed a dedicated table for the sole purpose of straightening and laser aligning your chassis. If needed, we have the capability to cut, replace, and weld portions of your chassis as well. Big crash bent your frame? Send it to us. Broke a spindle yoke off in a wreck? We can replace it. You don't need to toss that expensive frame in the trash bin. We can fix it. We can repair and straighten chassis, and we CNC machine the finest karting products in the country. With over 70 dealers throughout the US and Canada, it's easy to choose PKT. Family owned and operated, proudly made in the USA. PKT. What's in your cart? Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network and episode number 56 of the EKN Debrief. The focus of the review today, the 2019 Texas Pro Kart Challenge finale, rounds number 5 and 6 from Speed Sports Racing Park in Houston, Texas. This episode of the Debrief brought to you by Acceleration Kart Racing, but this particular segment, Paddock Pass, presented by Cometic Gaskets. Cometic Gasket has become a leader in the performance gasket market by collaborating with engine builders such as Roush Yates Engines and ECR from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. Cometic's cutting-edge gasket technology has then been applied to the Burris Cup Series as a spec gasket, and from there to their entire gasket line for the karting market, including both 2- and 4-cycle engines. Cometic offers the latest and most complete line of gaskets for today's performance-minded karter. Visit www.cometic.com for our complete line of karting gaskets. Custom build? No problem. Give us a call at 440-354-0777 and we can help. All right, David, jumping into the paddock pass right now. We already talked about it, but you know what? good to get back into Howden's Tower. When I first went to Speed Sports that opening time at Allen, he wanted to walk me around a little bit to kind of show me the racetrack, because when they designed the track, he came to me and said, "Hey, for the announcer's tower, what are you looking for? What would be good for you?" And I gave him a lot of input, and he ended up putting my name on the tower, which is pretty badass. But the bottom line is, it was air conditioned, which was nice. And Carrie Burke and I working up there. She, of course, handled scoring for the Texas Pro Kart Challenge. A beautiful view of that racetrack. Just great to get back to Speed Sport. I love that place.
Well, how much of a view is it the entire track you can see from that tower? Because obviously I haven't been there yet. I'm not quite sure what the view is. And I don't think I've seen an actual image of what you can see from where you sit.
I honestly, the only thing that comes in when they come out of turn number 3, there's 4, 5. So 3 is a left-hander, 4, 5 double apex right-handed leads back onto the straightaway. I can't see 4 and 5 because it's behind the rental cart. Their rental cart, what do you call it? Building, their shop.
So what you're saying, it was poor construction by
I think he probably added the 3, 4, 5 after I had set things up.
What? Yeah, you just don't kind of, that's just things that you don't think about when you're doing it. And I don't. I mean, yeah, the probably you could get away with one building, but probably because of the space that he had to do those 2 separate buildings in order to make things work. But I believe there's a canopy over the paddock or the grid area as well too. Is that still, that doesn't hamper your view?
Not at all. And the cool thing is I can see them coming out of turn 12, which is a bit of a kink out of the hairpin 11, straight right back at us as a short straightaway into a left-hand 90-degree turn 13. Then the big right-hand turn 14 is where a lot of the action is, because that's the final place to pass before you come out. Little kink turn 15. I could see all that track, all the primary passing zones. I don't lose really any passing zones either, because I don't think you see many passes in 4 and 5. So I get a really good view of the place for sure. There's actually a viewing level, like outside the tower. There's actually a place people can watch up there with some umbrellas as well. As you said, a full canopy over top of the grid area. There's a bunch of garages there as well, a huge paddock area. It's a really tremendous facility. And the cool thing is, during the race, all weekend long, on the rental track, there were guys out there powering out at the rental track, turning laps, having fun with their friends and family. Well, I watched a lot of them hanging on the fence, because essentially there's a walkway between the rental cart building and the competition track building and the office and the shop. People can kind of walk back and forth. So they get a chance to stand there at the fence while they're waiting to get in the rental car. They get to see what competition karting is all about. So it's just a fantastic place to go to races for sure. Definitely the jewel, in my opinion, of Texas karting.
And the start finish line is right there in front of the grid.
It's right. Yeah, no, actually it's not. It's after you come by the grid, and then a little kink, which is turn 15, that leads to the start finish line. So it's right in front of you. They drive away as they get to the start finish line.
Okay, so you see the rear of the cart as they hit the start finish line.
Exactly right. Exactly. And again, as part of the paddock pass here, just for me, it's always fun to go down and work with Mark and Gina French. I think Mark does a tremendous job as the race director. He had to drop the hammer on the X30 juniors a little bit, because they actually had elbows up during Friday practice, David. It was definitely championship weekend. Luke Lang and Brandon Tyner coming back to play, Jack Jeffers. It just felt like there was an increased intensity. Even in practice, they were getting at each other. Like they were racing during practice.
Well, championships are on the line. I believe guaranteed starting spots at the Super Nationals on the line for any regional champions. So that's part of it. And just you kind of get that when anytime you're going into a final event. I mean, even one-off events, everything's fine until that main event comes along. And then it's like, okay, the gloves are off. Let's go toe to toe. But it builds that momentum. And I mean, you even see that on the Pro Tour, especially at the Summer Nationals. You see guys, Friday morning getting coffee. They just have that serious look on their face, like, I am here to kill.
Yeah, that's it. Anyways, Mark and Gina do a great job, on the whole program. I love being down there with them. Michael Bartholomew, obviously a big part of the program. George Shear handling things in tech. Esther Cruz on the grid. It's a well-oiled machine. Carrie Burke, as I set up in scoring. It's just a well-oiled machine. Everybody works together. Very minimal chatter on the radio. The corner workers they had did a tremendous job. I was able to listen in because we had the radio up and scoring and the communication between Mark and his corner workers, the way they're describing incidents, and they just really do a good job. David, one of the interesting things is when we first went down there, that first race a couple of years ago in October, and on the first competitive weekend, Jake French told me he loved the track, but it was probably the most physical track he's ever driven, driving in a shifter. Well, I asked the guys in the Briggs category who I raced with at Amarillo. I thought the Amarillo was a pretty physical track because there's a lot of tight stuff. And I was talking to Tyson Knight, and I said, "What's this track like? It seems like it's a little more wide open?" And he said, "It's the most physical track he's driven on as well for Briggs." And I go, "Really?" He goes, "Because there are so many corners here that you got to pound the curbs. You're up over the curb here. You're transitioning back over to here. And there's a lot of grip as well. There's lots of passing opportunities, but you really got to work the curbing heavily, David, to be able to go quick around the racetrack, which makes it really, really interesting."
So we can call this the Danny Formal circuit, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
So you haven't driven it?
You know what? I was going to go out on Friday afternoon, but I was exhausted from my trip. I had to get up at like 3:30 in the morning to get to the airport. So I said, no, I'm going home and going to bed. So I have not driven it yet. And next time I go down, I'm definitely going to do that. I was going to drive, as you know, but I didn't.
Well, I think it makes sense because obviously Alan Rudolph of the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy designed the racetrack, and he's been to a number of racetracks over his really long career racing. And so he obviously knows how am I going to be able to have a racetrack that A, not only provides great racing, but B, provides a great training ground for not just beginners, but people who are coming to the racing academy to try and get that 1 or 2 or 3 tenths better as they develop as a driver themselves. So I think that only makes sense that it is one of the most challenging. And one of his prior home racetracks was the PKRA, the Phoenix Kart Racing Association circuit, that we know is probably one of the most probably difficult racetracks to master.
Oh, it's physical for sure at Phoenix. And you know what? That's a great point, David. Not only is it a great racetrack, but he had to design it to have the aspects that he needed in terms of training. Well, you're right. Hard braking zones. It's got some big double apex corners. There's some very quick 90s, some transitions. One of the things about the track, I don't know if I've seen it. I don't remember seeing it even last year, but this year, at the end of the straightaway in turn 6, which is a right-hand hairpin, and then coming through 13 to 14, which is the right-hand, essentially sweeping hairpin that leads onto the front straightaway, drivers, if you're able to hold the outside line through turn 6, it sets you back up to the left-hand. You actually still have the inside for turn 7. And we saw a lot of guys they'd make a move to the inside to make the pass to try to get by the person, but they weren't decisive enough to actually be able to, to take the spot. It wasn't so much that you needed to take the apex, but you had to own the exit as well. It was like almost like you round the corner, even though you were side by side, you had to beat the guy to the exit point on the outside of the track to be able to hold them off. Otherwise, they'd stay around the outside of you because you could hold so much grip. When drivers realized that, and instead of turning right at the apex, pushed the apex a little deeper into the corner with the driver on the outside of them, then made the turn, that allowed them to get that position on the exit. It was interesting for the drivers who really didn't understand that. They were just taking the apex like you used to, and it just wasn't enough, which is cool.
Well, that shows that, having a full practice day really helps, if not testing prior to coming to a racetrack, especially if you've never been there before, where you learn certain unique patterns or unique opportunities that can arise throughout a race course. Yeah. And so there's certain corners on certain tracks that you believe you have to take a certain way, but really in honesty, there's a completely different way of taking that corner to make you either quicker or, as you said, be able to complete passes or provide a kind of defensive out to be able to hold on to maintain the position.
Yeah, agreed. As we go through the paddock pass here, obviously one of the things we'll talk about is the actual team SRP, the Speed Sports Racing Team, Alan Rudolph's crew. They were strong across the board. Obviously, the local drivers, they did struggle with a little bit of bad luck. The cool thing is the whole program's kind of led by the older drivers that are the former rental car drivers from the other track that came over, Joshua Lionel and Jack Scanlon. As I had mentioned, Lionel, as you'll hear in the race report, up to second at one point. He was very strong. And a couple other drivers, well, the Moss brothers were right in the middle there, Davis Cunningham as well. We saw a number of drivers kind of step up, and there was some bad luck. But overall, Alan's really starting to grow his micro and mini program. He's got a couple of guys that are going to be running in the senior category coming from the rental car program. Dave, true products of the Speed Sports Racing program. And that's, hey, we've got people coming out here from the Houston area to try these rental carts, to get in a rental cart league, to have fun racing carts, and then be able to see the competition side. And just to see a couple of kids come over there, some young kids in the micro and mini class. I like what Alan's doing there right now because he's starting to foster that next generation of driver we're going to see.
Yeah, Houston's a big area. Obviously, we have the Gulf Coast karters down on the southern part of Houston. You have Speed Sports there on the northern part. So it's great to see karting grow in a city like Houston, Texas. Obviously, big, lots of oil money down there, lots of other industries down there. So it's good to see that, and because that numbers grow as you get the club program going, especially at a new track that is Speed Sports. It takes time to get the numbers to grow, and having that separate rental track, as you said, it helps entice people to go from just doing those maybe once a week type scenarios where you come out for a league to move into that competition side and grow. But it also provides just an opportunity to the great thing is they're there 12 months out of the year. They don't have any downtime. Well, so that makes things great for not only business, but the sport in general.
And the interesting thing, David, is, and we don't really hit on it that much, but I want to say Houston's like right around like the fifth largest city in the U.S. And so Kate, as you said, Katie's down in kind of the southeast side. The track Speed Sports is essentially straight north. I would bet it's over an hour between those two tracks. So you're talking about two different groups of people. Like North Houston people could go to Speed Sports. Southern Houston could maybe go more over to Katy if it was close. It's all about developing just the sport in and around Houston itself. And what Speed Sports is doing is raising a lot of awareness. And people may trek up to Speed Sports but not want to go there every weekend if they become racers. They're going to be down at Katy, hopefully, and the whole thing's going to grow. And they do an inter-club series as well, the Greater Houston program as well. So they'll run, I think there's a couple races up at Speed Sports, a couple races down in Katy. So they're even working together, David, which is big, I think.
Yeah, I wish all metropolitan areas had facilities like Speed Sports or say a GoPro Motorplex or just a track Detroit's lacking one. I mean, we have what is Motor City USA, and there is not an actual kart track aside from indoor karts in Michigan. So it's really tough. It's tough to grasp that type of mentality, but we are thankful for the tracks that we do have, and we have a long history with a lot of the different facilities, and it's good. But growth is always a positive move, especially for our sport. So,
looking into the paddock, of course, one of the big teams in Texas right now support, and they really support the Texas Pro Kart Challenge. That's Crosslink Competition. Sean Owens of the crew, the big tent, the big trailer, a lot of great drivers out there running. A big group that's obviously supporting the Texas Pro Kart Challenge, but also a lot of smaller teams, mom and pop teams in the paddock as well, which is really cool. It was also fun to see a lot of Texas PKC regulars come back as well. I had mentioned the fact that the series kind of promotes that the goal is to train and prepare drivers and their families to move to the nationals, and that is great for the sport, but it often robs entries. And this particular weekend, we got, as I said, Luke Lang, Brandon Tyner, Cooper Shipman, Oscar and Jack Iliff came back. Santiago Duran came back for this weekend, their first start. Same with Ivana Richards. All those drivers running nationally on the whole SCUSA Pro Tour, they make their first starts this past weekend at Speed Sports. So it's good to have them come back. But again, that's part and parcel, Dave, with this program, which is designed, and they'll say that, Mark and Gina will, to make sure people are ready to go national racing, sometimes to their own detriment, because guys end up going and they're not coming back, which is that's what it's all about, though, right?
Well, as you said, we just still need to get these club tracks to that 100 driver mark. If you get members, because then you have, if you lose 10% there to regional racing, you're able to recoup and regrow from there. And regional programs are able to continue to grow because they're going to have a certain percentage that either are done racing or move up to the next level. And that's all they do there. So just, it's all, like you said, it's always a moving target, and it's good. You got to have race teams such as Crosslink or kart shops that support not only club and regional, but also national racing.
I couldn't agree more. Folks, we're closing on the halfway point of this debrief podcast. Rob Howard and David Cole discussing the Texas Pro Kart Challenge. You know what? We're going to jump into the race report after this break.
You probably know Nitro Kart for making a class-leading cadet chassis, the kart that swept the 2018 SCUSA Supernats cadet divisions and has won scores of races and championships all over the country. But did you know that Nitro Kart offers a full range of karts, including a kid kart and a brand new full-size chassis? Now racers of all ages can enjoy the Nitro Kart advantage of premium components, superior performance, and a wide range of tunable handling. All 2019 Nitro Karts are in stock now, so call Nick Tucker at 704-818-7868 and order yours today.
Hi, I'm Ashley Harrow, a multi-time international champion, but most kids know me as Coach. Under the tent, we aren't just friends. Everyone grows to become family. It all breaks down to two simple choices. You can either spend your time winning with us, or spend your time trying to beat us.
Nitro Kart! Race one or chase one!
Powered by technology, DID racing chains have a worldwide reputation for superior quality and reliability. Meticulously engineered and manufactured in Japan, DID genuine parts are the world's #1 original parts supplier for Japanese and European motorcycle manufacturers. A rich racing tradition where results speak for themselves, DID prides itself on engineering the most technologically advanced chains on the market to help you excel on and off the track. DID's SDH pin treatment creates an extremely hard chromium carbide layer on the pin surface that houses a soft inner core to absorb extreme shock loads. DID's 219 HTZ racing chain boasts this SDH pin technology, which leads to longer chain life as well as excellent energy transmission to the wheels. Available in the gorgeous gold, the 219 HTZ is the ultimate racing kart chain. Pick up a DID chain at your local dealer today, because when winning is the only thing that matters, go with DID. Attention all Briggs 206 racers. The biggest race of the year is coming. On October 4, 5, 6, Cup Karts North America is hosting the largest Briggs 206 race in the country. The Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals at Newcastle Motorsports Park, where the best racers from all across North America will come to see who has what it takes to become Grand Champion. This 3-day event features a full day of optional practice on Friday, October the 4th, qualifying and heat races on Saturday, and finals on Sunday. On offer is over $25,000 in awards and prizes that will be awarded based on finishing positions as well as door prizes throughout the entire weekend. Newcastle Motorsports Park is a world-class facility with not only the size and staff to handle an event of this magnitude, but it's also considered one of the best racing surfaces in North America. We're privileged to have such a perfect home for this event. Due to the high demand for this event, we've been forced to cap classes to ensure the event remains on schedule. So, if you want to take part in the biggest event in motorcycle karting, register ASAP. Registration opens to the public on August 30th. For more information, head to cupkarts.com. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, episode 56 of the EKN Debrief. I am reviewing my trip to the Texas Pro Kart finale at Speed Sports Racing Park. Time to jump into the race report as we'll look at the action that took place down in Houston. This edition of the race report brought to you by Streeter Superstands. With decades of experience and an unbeatable reputation, Streeter Superstands leads the way in quality, innovation, and affordable lifts, stands, and an amazing selection of trailer and shop accessories to make you the envy at every event. From local club racers and regional warriors to the top pro tour teams, racers demand the best, and Streeter Superstands builds it. Roll with the best and shop online at streetersuperstands.com. All right, David, let's go green, get rocking here. X30 Senior, as I said, a pretty decent field of drivers, strong field in terms of talent, and it was good to watch them go at it. The season's kind of all been about Caden Gray. He has been good from the get-go at Denton. Out of the box, though, last year's champion Brett Mitchell is back for the weekend, his only start this year. He ends up qualifying on the pole. Gray steps things up in the pre-final, and then we go racing in the main event, which was a 16-lapper. Now, Caden Gray jumps out on the Cosmic, gets out to a pretty solid little lead out front. But for me, the star of the show was Joshua Leonel on the Burrell Art for Speed Sports. Started, I think, fourth. I want to say fell back to fifth, but kind of worked his way forward, ends up passing Riley Can to take over the second position. So as Caden Gray's bolting out there, it's Leonel holding off Riley Can, and Riley was showing him everything, but was showing the patience. Riley finally able to get back on the final lap to steal back second. Leonel ends up getting his first Pro Kart Challenge podium in third. Mitchell, who started on the pole for the pre-final, ends up getting fourth, and Jack Scanlon rounded up the top five. But it was a pretty solid run for Joshua Leonel. And a little more backstory before you jump in. Here's a guy that started in the rental cars, like I said, moved over and ran in the X30 Junior category, and then midway through this year, because he was getting too big, moves to the X30 Senior class, and in his first ever Pro Kart Challenge race, was running second in front of Riley Can at one point. Obviously, the proof positive of the product that Alan Rudolph and his training program's developing. And
it's always good to get that basically first regional start at your home track, especially in the X30 Senior category, because it's one of the toughest categories in the country. So to be able to run, alongside or, and as you said, in front of some guys who have raced on the SCUSA Pro Tour, that's it definitely helps build the momentum. And as you said, it kind of signifies that growth that he's been able to do.
Yeah, I see the same thing out of Jack Scanlon. Of course, Alan Rudolph and Jesse Dunham working with those guys. Jason Birdsell in there as well, working with them throughout the year. But David, you mentioned momentum, but for a guy like Joshua, a young guy just coming up from X30 Junior to X30 Senior, it's all about that confidence, right? That race where he was, he goes by everybody. He goes by into third, goes by into second, and just making those passes. You can just imagine how much confidence that would build for him. So again, with that confidence, as I said, moving into Sunday, Joshua Leonel was strong coming out of the gate as well. Riley Can, though, able to get the qualifying spot, P1 in the opening session. Caden Gray came back again for the pre-final. He just looked so comfortable and so confident, and not surprising. He's had such a great year. Mitchell ends up finishing second because Gray ends up getting the win. Gray went quickly to the lead at the start of the race, but was chased aggressively by both Riley Can and Brett Mitchell. Mitchell was putting a lot of pressure on Can, eventually was able to go by for second. As I said, Joshua Leonel scoring another top five, not a podium this time, but ends up finishing fourth, and another top five as well for Jack Scanlon. In the entire points deal, really, as I said from the get-go, Caden Gray really dominated the action. 5 wins over 6 races. Was able to I think he set the tone in Denton, Texas, able to dominate there and was just super strong. Alejandro Jaramillo got the one race win in Amarillo, but didn't race this particular weekend, so he ends up dropping to fourth in the overall standings. Riley Can had a really good finish, Dave. A good weekend to wrap it up in Houston. 2 podiums. It pushes him to second place overall in the points. And Dylan Town with a pretty good run overall on the weekend ends up third overall in the points. But really, this year in X30 Senior in Texas, it was all about Caden Gray. He just dominated the action.
Yeah, I was going to say that Riley, it was his best weekend throughout the season, grabbing his second and third podiums on the year to move him up to second. And again, to be able to race, I believe Brett Mitchell is the former series champion. So
last year.
Making his return back to the program. Great to see him back. And, so you got those 3 guys, Greg, Riley, and Mitchell, and then to see the newcomers, the new drivers mixing it up well with them bodes well for the talent pool that we have down there in Texas.
No doubt. And a lot of great races coming from P1 next year. You'll see these drivers running at events like the Lockhart Grand Prix. But I will reiterate, David, I'll agree with you with the Riley Can thing. I will say it's probably the breakout weekend for Riley because it almost seemed like there was confidence there. He knew he was going to be able to run for podiums, potentially even the race win. Like I said, he qualifies on pole at one point for Sunday. He was right there all weekend long. So I think it's going to be a good breakout for Riley Can. Moving now into the X30 junior class, the return of Luke Lang and Brandon Tyner really kind of set the pace, David. They were right there. And again, we're talking national and international experience. These guys, national level winners as well. So when you come back to the regionals, you're expecting to win whatever you do. Lang qualifies on pole on Saturday. Ryan Sheehan stepped up. And again, there's another guy coming off an international start. And I'll tell you, David, I think it really paid off for Ryan Sheehan because it just seemed like he was a different guy this weekend.
Oh, for sure. Anytime you go up against international competition, it's gonna help educate you a little bit more because as we've kind of documented over at least the 2 decades that I've been involved in covering international racing, it's a lot different over there. It's not the follow the leader type scenario. There's a lot of pushing and shoving and a lot more. It's a lot different of a chess game when you go over there and racing at the Rotax International Open that he did go race at. I mean, there was some stout competition and he was able to come out of that with a really good finish. So momentum, as we were just talking about in the previous class. Momentum helps carry over to the next event and the next event and the next event. And it's something that Luke Lang and Tyner, they obviously built themselves off momentum as well too.
And David, you would have commented for sure on it just to see Ryan there in that one pre-final when he was kind of defending. He had those guys right behind him. He was a different driver. You know what I mean? You could see that there was, hey, listen, I got shuffled around a little bit over in Europe. You're not going to do that to me here. He had the elbows up a little bit, a little more defensive in some of his moves. There was no doubt that what he learned running that Rotax race over in Europe, he brought over here. Like it was night and day. The experience was obviously very good for Ryan. He looked very good. Again, Luke Lang ends up getting the win on Saturday. Brandon Tyner in second, Ryan Sheehan in third. And Ryan came in to the weekend, battling a championship. Adrian Cruz was the championship leader in the X30 Junior. Ryan needed to make stuff happen, and that's what he did all weekend long. In the end, as you'll hear, it came up short, but man, he really pushed hard and turned what could have been a really long shot at a championship into something that ended up being pretty close. On Sunday, Luke Lang again, in qualifying, he was just so good, dropping down that magic lap. Sheehan comes back again with another pre-final win. The fight for this race win, and of course the overall championship was really exciting on Sunday because the 3 drivers in the championship fight, which were Cruz, Alex Stanfield, and Ryan Sheehan, really got at it. And I should probably preface the fact that Stanfield had a really good run on Saturday. And in the end, it was that really strong run. I think he finished 4th off the top of my head.
Second.
He was second on Saturday?
Stanfield,
I got my notes wrong. I thought he was.
Yeah, the results I have.
Got my notes wrong. That's right. He finished second. That's right. Yeah. Because there was some. Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Tyner was. It looks like he was third, or. I'm sorry. I'm trying to go off the points, but
no worries. Dude. Yeah. I guess I don't. I have my notes in front of me. That's not the right. I obviously wrote it down incorrectly. What Stanfield was able to do on Saturday is what gave him the position he needed on Sunday. It's Dave. You have the spreadsheet. You know how it works, right? With the drops. What is your drop? Who's qualifying? Where are you finishing? Cruz had a decent weekend, but not an amazing weekend, right? And that allowed Stanfield to kind of step up. And for him, what he was able to do on the Saturday set him into position to be able to take the run on Sunday. So again, did I have them backwards?
I think you have them backwards because Stanfield had a runner up on Saturday with Sheehan in third and Tyner in fourth.
That's it.
So that was your results on Saturday. So yeah, as you said, Steinfeld getting that runner up, definitely padding the points. I believe it looks like almost 70 points or 60 point differential between him and Cruz on Saturday alone. So that helps move that carries that momentum over to Sunday. to where he basically just needed to see where Cruz was. You don't want to cut it that close as close as it came out to be. But I think that's all he had to, keep Cruz in mind and not do anything that would jeopardize his points situation.
Well, and that's what it kind of came down to these guys, especially on Sunday. It was wild because they were diving back and forth. Everybody, Cruz knew what he had to do, so he was pushing super hard. Sheehan was just fast all weekend long, so he was like right in there trying to get another podium, potentially a race win. All in all, everybody was kind of on the fence because it was just thrilling racing for sure. There was tons of passing. Like it was a championship day, right? It was championship Sunday, and they were all just kind of laying it down. And in the end, like I said, this tremendous battle for the championship ends up with Stanfield coming away as a championship victor, which I thought, man, was just super cool because, again, it's all about coming into that final weekend, David, and putting in two really good results. Stanfield eventually used his Sunday result as his drop, I believe.
Correct.
But otherwise, just great racing all around. It wasn't a really like deep field in terms of numbers, but the quality are guys that we've been talking about for years running nationally, which was so exciting.
Well, still 13 drivers. I mean, that's a good regional field, especially when you're talking about half of them race at the Pro Tour. You got Jack Jeffers, who's just moved up into X30 Junior. You got Noah Baker, another driver who's just basically moved up into juniors as well. So, it gives them that extra track time to develop as a driver and get used to that full size chassis. But as you said, it's great to see the championship basically come down to the final race and the final laps, because anything could have happened where Stanfield could have DNF'd and Cruz could have got a couple more positions, which would have in turn gave him the championship. So you just never know what's going to quite happen, and that's why we always run that spreadsheet on Sundays.
Yeah, I would like to have had your spreadsheet for sure, but the crazy thing, David, is in the end when it was all said and done. Let me get my notes to make sure I get this right because I messed it up last time. Exactly. So it ended up, and this is where we'll give them some props to Sheehan as well. Stanfield ends up doing what he needs to do. Again, his second place run on Saturday, coupled with, I think he was fourth or fifth in the pre-final, 215 points for him, which was strong. His drop race then turned out to be a 190 and then a 177 on round 6. He picked that 190 back up. Adrian Cruz finishes second, just 18 points back. And Ryan Sheehan, who I want to say was like 155 points out coming in, something like that, ends up being just 25 points back in total. A strong weekend for him. 220 points both days. David, it actually ended up being his best overall point scoring weekend for the whole year. And to see somebody step up when the challenge is there, I thought that was big for Sheehan and Stanfield, to be honest.
Yeah, you always want to end the season well, and Sheehan really did that. And to put himself in position to actually be in the hunt there in the final laps for what could have been a title for him, but to finish up third is still solid, and only 25 points separating the top three.
Indeed. All right, let's move to Mini Swift right now. Davis Cunningham coming into the weekend with the point lead. He qualifies on pole for Saturday. Cooper Shipman making his first start for the year. He ends up winning the pre-final. In the actual race itself on Saturday, it's Joseph Moss, Cooper Shipman, Davis Cunningham, and Elio Meza essentially running nose to tail top four drivers in that pack at the start. Moss and Shipman leading the pack. But actually it was interesting because it was Oscar Iliff that was closing in near the end, and he was the one that, if you listen to the broadcast, which was playing today on the EKN radio network, I was watching Iliff, and as he's closing at the end, I'm like, could he win this thing? And so he passes Cunningham for fourth with 3 laps to go, sets himself back up again. The very next lap, he gets by Elio Meza. He moves his way into third spot, and I'm honestly thinking, Iliff's going to try to win this thing. But he got a little, making that pass on Cunningham, or Meza rather, he was a little bit back. So he had to kind of catch up a bit. Final lap, super exciting. Shipman ends up taking the lead from Moss into turn 7, which is the left-hander after the long straightaway and the hairpin there. Moss tries to get back on in turn number 8 because Moss needs the points if he's going to be able to try to take this championship away from Cunningham. He needed to get almost every point he possibly could. Eight is a double apex right-hander, 8 and 9. Gets into the back of Shipman a little bit, checks up. Iliff with a big run, dives down the inside, and he takes over second. And you wonder if it's all said and done. Iliff actually almost able to get by Shipman on the final lap as they come into 13 and 14. Moss was right there as well. It was almost 3 wide coming out of the final corner. That was one of those races that you really like to see in Mini Swift because, David, the drivers were aggressive. They were decisive, but they still gave each other lots of room. And in the end, Shipman gets the win, Iliff second, Moss third, but it was just fun to watch.
Yeah, 84 thousandths of a second separating the top two at the finish line. So definitely a close race between them. And again, this is a prelude to what we will see because all these kids race up at the Pro Tour and other events. Both Iliff and Moss and Shipman, they've raced at USPKS. So I've kind of seen these kids racing right there as well too. So definitely talent pool strong in the Mini Swift category.
Yeah, so we moved to Sunday, and Cunningham really with things kind of handled, right? He had 3 wins on the season, so a solid lead for him in the championship. Moss ends up going, now granted, one thing, they do a thing on the Texas Pro Kart Challenge called the Bell Lap. It's kind of the same thing you'd have in cycling, on the velodrome cycling, where you get bonus points on one particular lap. Well, lap 10 was the Bell Lap. Every class gets 1 a year. Mini was on Saturday. Joey Moss ends up getting the Bell Lap, so 10 bonus points, so he closes up again. He qualifies on pole on Sunday, another 10 bonus points. Now, again, Cunningham's got such a big lead, but Moss was just eating into it. Cooper Shipman again ends up winning the pre-final. Moss jetting out into the lead in the main event, kind of letting that battle, go up behind him. They were dicing behind him, so Joey Moss pulls away. It's Elio Meza again, Shipman, Iliff, Duran, Cunningham, all in the fight. Mace ends up getting into an incident. As it shakes down, Santiago Duran actually works his way up. Moss gets the win. Duran in second on the Nitro Kart, and Iliff in third. There was guys that stepped up in the second half of the race weekend, but Santiago Duran was really the one I think turned things up on Sunday because he was really able to get himself in the fight where he wasn't really there on Saturday.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out the results here because they show Shipman finishing 14 laps. Did he have an issue in the main event?
I believe. Was it the final? I think something happened on the final circuit where he had to just crawl, at the very last lap and just crawl back around.
Okay,
I'm not mistaken.
They didn't put any penalties because it looks like he got a penalty because he crossed the line in 5th. But was put down to 10th. So I'm not quite sure if there was.
That's a possibility. Maybe I will say this: there was some avoidable contact penalties, and Mark French was more. He was dropping some avoidable contact. He dropped a couple of jump starts as well in a couple of the categories because there were drivers that were having trouble. Like they were coming up to the line, and the outside line was way ahead of the front guy, and so some guys did get some jump start penalties as well. I don't have that in my notes. And again, hard to take notes when we're thrashing like we are because they're too damn efficient. Roll in the next race.
Yeah, they just need a little, give you a 2-minute buffer.
Give me some time.
That's all you got to ask for, a 2-minute buffer. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
Yeah, just give me a little time, right? But they did a great job. And there wasn't a lot of incidents. There was a couple times we went behind a little bit, but I was always playing catch up, it felt like, throughout the weekend. Bottom line in Mini Swift, Cunningham, as we said, ends up with the championship. Moss has a great weekend, a couple of podiums and a race win. He closes to 95 points in the end, but Davis Cunningham ends up being the Mini Swift champion for the Texas Pro Kart Challenge this year. Landon Skinner finishes 4th on Sunday, and that secures him 3rd place in points. So it was a lot of fun for sure at the podium presentations. There is something we'll talk about before it's all said and done. But yeah, it was the Mini Swift racing was good. It just was really, really good racing. I enjoyed it.
Well, is it the drivers, the racetrack, or a combination of both? Because yes. As we said, we had some pretty good talent in the field, and everybody keeps talking about how challenging the track is. Well, if the track is challenging, don't you expect to see some of the stronger guys pull away from the rest of the field? I mean, we didn't have too many breakaways, did we?
No, we actually didn't. But there were separate groups as you get sometimes, right, David? 4 or 5, then a couple of 3s, that kind of thing. And a couple times they just paired off 2 by 2. in a couple of the categories as well. We saw that in the Briggs class. So the track lends itself to that because it's so challenging, but there is that long straightaway. There is a bit of a draft to play. All in all, though, just the Mini Swift drivers really were one of my favorite categories to watch all weekend. Let's cap off this segment jumping into the Micro Swift class. As we said, the biggest field so far on the year, or to date for the year, for Texas Pro Kart Challenge with 10. Essentially a battle between Ethan Thomason and James Moss for the championship. Thomason drew blood first. He ends up qualifying on pole on Saturday. Jack Iliff, he and his brother Oscar Iliff, obviously coming in for their first starts of the year. He wins the pre-final. Iliff and Moss eventually pull away to battle it out for the win on Saturday. A great last lap battle over the final corners. Moss able to get past Iliff in the left-hand turn 11 hairpin with a good move to the inside. Iliff goes over under. They come out of the kink turn 12. They're side by side down to 13. That's that left-right combination. Into 14, kind of a crisscross. Iliff ends up taking the victory, but it was one of those ones, David, when it's just back, like left and right and left, finally coming out of the corner. Moss ends up getting second. Valuable points for him trying to close up the gap on Thomason, but indeed it was Iliff with the win. Thomason did come back to third, which made things interesting. And David, at the end of that day, Thomason ended up leading Moss by 5 points heading into Sunday.
Well, it looks like Moss had fast lap of the race, so that certainly helped him. But to bounce back, because then it was just at the end of July where Moss had that broken wrist. So to be able to come back and to be a quick driver right away, and probably what is his first race back. Maybe he did a couple club races here or there, but kudos to James for bouncing back from that broken wrist.
Now hold on, okay, you're gonna mess me up right now. Was it Joey or James that broke his wrist?
It was James.
It was James?
It was the micro kid, because it was a micro wreck.
I'll tell you for sure, you wouldn't have known, because both those kids are on the throttle all the time. So I couldn't have told that either of them were hurt. If indeed it was James, that's pretty badass, because like I said, you couldn't tell the difference based on what they were doing on the racetrack. That's for sure. Okay. Of all the championships, David, on the weekend, this is the one that actually came down to be super exciting on Sunday. Because as it shakes down, because we're of course watching the points that come up for grabs, right? There are 5 points difference coming into the race. Jack Iliff qualifies on pole. He steals away the 10 points. Nobody can use that. In the pre-final, do you have the pre-final results in front of you?
Yep.
Let me see if I have the points in front of me. Check out the points in the micro class for the pre-final, because Moss ends up winning the pre-final.
Yep.
Right. And Thomason says,
third,
I think he ends
with
up
Austin
third.
Roy in second.
So Austin Roy, another one of the speed sports drivers, up in the second spot. So I believe when that's all said and done, they end up tied for the points going into the main event. Either tied for the points, or James might have had a 5-point lead. So it comes down to whichever driver beats the other driver. That's who's going to win.
Well, that's how you want it. Yeah, that's how you want it.
Which is perfect, right? Winner take all. So here, this is the exciting part of this race. So again, you mentioned Austin Roy, another one of the drivers in the speed sports program. Here's a kid who steps up his game, because as soon as we go green, as I said, he finished second. He goes to the lead. So here's Austin leading at his home track, starting the race, coming around for the second lap. We got the first lap in the books, and coming out of turn 6, I'm not sure what happened. He ends up coming to a halt on the outside of turn 7. Absolute heartbreak for a kid that's obviously going to be able to battle for a podium and potential race win. Tough one for Austin. Look forward to seeing him back next year to see what he can do with a full year under his belt. So who takes over the lead? James Moss. And with a pretty decent advantage at this point, with some of the action in the opening lap. Next lap around, coming out of turn number 8, 9, he all of a sudden slows, pulls off in turn number 10, thrown chain. Loses the chain on the Burrell. He's out.
So different sections, right? That they pull over. So it wasn't. So it wasn't sure that it was a chain or not for Roy. It just could have been something mechanical other than a chain. And
I'm not sure. Actually, James might have been on a Bennick. I didn't actually find out what happened to Austin.
James is on a Bennick.
Yeah, I didn't. Don't worry about whatever's on the results is not what they're on. all the time. Trust me.
Right. Yeah. No, I know.
Because people change chassis and don't tell anybody.
Right.
Indeed, I don't know what happened to Austin. I don't know what it was. James, I confirmed with Alan Rudolph, it was indeed a drop chain. So essentially right there on lap number 3, the championship was decided.
Right.
Because Ethan Thomason was, of course, able to continue on. In the end, Thomason, he actually didn't win the race. Jack Iliff actually won the race on track.
Yep.
But he got a 2-position penalty for avoidable contact. That moves Thomason to the win, Fernando Hassas on the parallel to second, and Iliff ends up taking third spot. In the championship, Thomason gets that championship win. Moss second. Charlie Bradbury, who had a fantastic a weekend as well, he ends up finishing third. And David, I'm not sure if you've seen it on social media, but we pulled the champagne out, and he did the shoey. Full chug out of the race boot for the micro guy. It was awesome.
So he has some Aussie background, huh?
I don't know if he has the Aussie background, but he likes Ricardo, I guess, and he was doing the shoey. And everybody's yelling at him, do the shoey. Took the boot off, filled her up, chugged it back.
Well, that's. I hope it was apple juice, right? It was apple.
It was sparkling apple cider.
Sparkling water. Yeah, sparkling. Yeah. Okay.
Sparkling apple cider. Well, the crowd went crazy. Let's put it this way: the crowd went crazy.
Well, of course. I just don't know if would you ever drink from your shoe?
I would have to have had a lot of drinks beforehand to drink from my shoe. You know what I'm saying?
Well, my racing shoes are like 15 years old, so I don't know if I want to even try that. And you've seen my toe, so it can't be the right one.
I wouldn't think the right one. Now, do you still have your shift boots?
I never had shift boots. No. I actually use wrestling shoes. Because they have a really thin sole, so you feel like you really feel the pedal. And so I wrestled when I was younger, and I always thought they're comfortable for racing, but not for walking around the paddock a lot. That's for sure.
Yeah, I hear you. That's for sure. Anyways, great job for Charlie Bradbury with the shoey, and congratulations to Ethan Thomason. He ends up being the Micro Swift champion for 2019. All right, folks, when we get back from this break, we're going to come back. Shifters, KA100 Senior and Junior, Briggs 206 Senior, Briggs 206 Junior. We'll rock and roll through that to cap off this edition of the Race Report. Stick with us. The EKN Debrief, final round of the Texas Pro Kart Challenge. We'll be back after this break. Top quality material, all presented in fluorescent yellow. You've seen it, and now you need to choose the flow. Since 2005, J3 Competition has been capturing major victories and championships both on and off the track, redefining the industry with each move. The company took its unparalleled knowledge and rolled it into their own chassis line in 2015, the Comp Kart. The CIK FIA homologated brand has been winning races ever since. There are 3 Comp Kart models to choose from. The Covert 3.0 R19 is the latest design for tag and shifter competition. The Covert 4R serves several popular categories, including 100cc and Briggs 206 racing. The Ranger 28 model is designed for cadet racing and will be the official chassis of the Minimax division at the 2019 Rotax Challenge Grand Finals in Sarno, Italy. And lastly, new karters can get right into the Comp Kart product from the beginning, running the Micro Kart in the Kid Kart division. Visit j3competition.com for more on the fastest growing chassis line in the world. Do it now. Choose the flow.
Hey everyone, this is Chris Wheeler from Bell Helmets. Bell Racing USA is now the official helmet of Superkarts USA. You can find our newest line of products such as the Carbon KC7 CMR, the only carbon fiber built helmet approved with a CMR rating in the entire world during the 2019 season by visiting PSL Karting on site at all SCUSA events. Check us out online, www.bellracing.com, or on social media by following @BellRacingHQ.
In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience. And we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at franklinkart.com, where all of our products are just a mouse click away and we ship daily. We're constantly adding new products to our online store, so keep checking back. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, and of course, our championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find molecule cleaning products, minus 273 racing gloves, micron gauges and components, and both MG and Bridgestone tires. If you're ready to take your racing to the next level, come and join us at Team FMS. We've been supplying racers with start-to-finish support at race events for many years, from providing a helping hand on a weekday test outing or at a club event, to full arrive and drive packages at the highest level of karting competition. For 2019, we'll be attending the SuperKarts USA Winter Series, WK Manufacturers Cup, United States Pro Kart Series, and the Route 66 Kart Racing Series. And we'd love to have you under our tent at Merlin Nation. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. What are we? Episode number 56 of the EKN Debrief. We are reviewing the Texas Pro Kart Challenge finale from Speed Sports Racing Park. I'll blow through these next ones pretty quick, David, because there weren't a lot of entries, so we can just kind of knock it out. Shifter kart category, as we know, battling within the SCUSA program as the 175 starting to grow roots around the program. Only two drivers in Pro Shifter, Max Hewitt and Greg Alvarez. They end up splitting the race wins. Hewitt actually retired, I think, midway through or to the end of the race on Sunday. Alvarez got that victory. One driver, actually, two drivers in G1 on Saturday. Miguel Garcia beating out Alan Campbell, who actually ended early. Garcia, the only entry on Sunday. And then Skylar Sutton, he was the sole entrant each day in the Honda Shifter class. Skylar, of course, what did, though, run the entire series. So kudos to him. He ends up, of course, winning the championship as the only driver in Honda Shifter. KA100 Senior actually had four drivers on Saturday, three on Sunday. Josiah Tracy qualifies on pole on Saturday, but it was Doug Foxworth, actually, the local driver on the comp kart, who won the pre-final and then held off Josiah Tracy for the win in the main. Santiago Masi actually was very quick throughout the weekend, took third after battling James Lundberg on his Burrell Art for the final podium position on Saturday. On Sunday, Josiah Tracy kind of came to the forefront. It was Masi actually who took the pole. As I said, Santiago had really good speed on the weekend, was right there all weekend long. But Tracy came to the forefront, ends up stretching out to score the victory in the main event. Foxworth second, and Masi ends up well back in third after an off-track excursion when he was battling it out. Matt Brent actually finished, I think he finished fourth both days. We actually had five guys rather. I mean, I forgot to add Matt Brent. We had five guys on Saturday, four on Sunday. Matt Brent on his Ricardo finishing fifth on Saturday and fourth on Sunday. Josiah Tracy ends up winning the championship, only driver to run all three events. And Cameron Reed was the only driver in the KA100 junior class. But David, they started her as far back as they possibly could. But Cameron was up on the wheel, and she worked her way all the way to the front in the pre-final and the final on Sundays. They tried to keep her back as far as she could, but she was flying. She put the target on the seniors in front of her and just kept her head down and kept digging, which was good for her. She turned fast laps, which was good.
Definitely easier to run down people when you have a rabbit in front of you. But
that's exactly it. Yeah,
it's interesting to see the difference in lap times between the K100 and the Briggs. Briggs are about 103 fast lap for the Briggs, and then you go to KA and you're looking at 57 seconds. So you're talking a 6-second difference on what is an 0.8 of a mile track. Probably due to maybe a little bit of couple slow corners. Would you say?
Well, there's four hairpins there, 3 or 4 hairpins, right? On tight corners of the racetrack, and of course they just don't come off. But again, David, that's that extra 6 seconds, right? That's what's going to be. That's what helps put that 100cc KA100 VLR 100 program right in the middle between Briggs and potentially jump into X30, right? Because I had a chance to drive the VLR out at Sonoma at Andy Saisman's Coda finale, and the thing just rips off the bottom end. It's much different than the Briggs. The thing's just always ripping on the power band of the bottom end. It's just fun to drive, but that much power coming off the corners, add on to the top end, and you're 6 seconds faster, like you said.
Yeah, it's almost 4 seconds difference between KA 100 and X30 Senior. So yeah, it's definitely a great gap, and I think that's what is going to help. I think long term, a lot of club and regional racing.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I think the KA 100 and the VLR 100, that 100cc electric start, is going to help a lot of people who don't want the expense and maybe the rougher ride of the X30 and the other, quicker 125cc liquid cooled single speed engines. Want something air cooled, a little easier on the body. Trust me, when I ran it at Sonoma, I loved it. Have you've driven the KA, right? Already before? You did.
I have not.
I thought you drove one.
Not.
What did you drive? Oh, did you drive a Yamaha GoPro? I thought you drove a KA a couple years ago.
Well, yeah, we're talking 4 years ago.
We got to get you. We got to get you in a KA. You got to try one. You'll love it, dude. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. For a guy that used to run Yamaha a lot, you'll dig it. You're gonna. Well,
it's very. And I was thinking, the vintage class at Rock Island, it's all Yamaha pipes. And I'm like, I remember these days. And so, that pipe racing, it helps you, that the difference between that can and that pipe, it really helped to mask your failures in corners.
Wow. I like where you're going with that.
Oh, yeah.
All right. 2 more categories to go. They ran on track at the same time. Briggs 206 Senior and Briggs 206 Junior. Royce Johnson's kind of been the guy to beat David, all year long. He blew by me like I was standing still in practice at Amarillo. Nothing but first or second place finishes on the year for him. But what was cool was it was like the 3 top championship contenders, Royce Johnson, RJ Guajardo, and Tyson Knight, top 3 in the championship, and they were the top 3 guys to beat really all weekend long. Johnson qualifies on pole on Saturday, wins the pre-final, sweeps the day in the main event, but it was a battle the whole time because they were all 3 kind of running together. At one point, and I love this, at one point in the main event on Saturday, I want to say it was in the matter of about 10 corners, because I want to say it was from like turn 6 to turn 3 or whatever. All 3 drivers led at one point because the track plays so well for Briggs. They're going back and forth, taking moves. All 3 drivers at one point was able to lead. Johnson did get the win, Guajardo second, and Knight third. But all 3 of those drivers so evenly matched, I think.
Yeah, you look at the lap chart, and it was lap 8, 9, 10, 11, where you see each driver take a turn at least across the start-finish line for the lead. So, and then they settled back down to finish 1, 2, 3.
And honestly, Dave, a hardcore final, 4-cycle final lap, right? They were working each other. They were leaning on each other. And it was essentially a drag race to the line because Guajardo's going to the inside. And in that second last corner, which is 14, it's a big right-hand hairpin right in front of the grid. And then it's the kink 15. Well, it's so wide, you can hold the outside. So Guajardo's on the inside. He's trying to push wide to see if he can't push Johnson out. Johnson's holding on to the outside. And all that Tyson Knight could do is, of course, do the over-under, right? The late apex. So they came out of the track almost 3 wide. And then it's the kink to the right. Well, of course, Johnson's got more momentum on the outside. The least momentum is Tyson Knight on the inside. So that's how they end up. Johnson, Guajardo, and Knight at the line coming to that stripe. It was just fun to watch. It was badass. I would like to have been out there actually with them, to be honest.
Well, I was just looking at the field, and you're talking less than 1 second separating the entire field of 10 carts. So it's pretty good. It was
solid stuff. On Sunday it was interesting because Royce Johnson really has the championship locked at that point. I wasn't going to give it to him officially, but with 3 wins and 2 second place finishes, he's essentially got it already locked. So RJ Guajardo comes out and says, well, you know what? I'm going to show you what I can do. Qualifies on pole, wins the pre-final. He and Johnson pull away by themselves. Tyson Knight didn't have anybody to draft with in qualifying. So I think he qualified 6th. And then he wasn't able to get even near the lead group, and I think I want to say 4th in the pre-final, something like that. And that allowed just the way things kind of shook down with Miguel Mir getting in there. It kind of caught everything up at the start of the race on Sunday. So it allowed Guajardo and Johnson to pull away. And Johnson just sat there in second and just push. You know what I mean? He was not in a hurry. We got lots of time. It was a 14-lapper. They just took it easy, kind of pushed away to make it a 2-driver battle. They went at it. Last lap had some contact, but Guajardo ended up taking the win. Johnson second. And actually, Miguel Mir was able to pull away in third by himself to take the final position on the podium as well. So Miguel, who's a 3-time defending X30 Masters champion now with the Texas Pro Kart Challenge, ends up getting a podium as well, running in the 206 class.
Double duty for him too, as well.
That's it, dude. In a hot 92-degree day, running all those laps, I was pretty impressed with Miguel for sure. You know what? In the draw at the end, X30 Master, X30 Senior, X30 Junior champions got a chance to draw for Super Nationals entry, and they actually rolled some big dice. Miguel Mir ended up winning that one as well.
Well, it's a good day or good weekend for him.
It was a good day. It was a good day for sure. So Johnson wins the championship, as I said. Guajardo second in the championship fight. Tyson Knight in third. Like I said, Johnson winning first and second in all 3 races, 3 wins. Briggs and Stratton donating a Briggs generator to the champion, so he gets a Briggs generator. They also drew for a Briggs generator, pulled all the entry forms out, pulled it out. Tyson Knight. So the Briggs driver getting a Briggs generator. So 2 guys with generators on the podium.
I need his luck. I'd like a generator.
I would like a Briggs generator as well. I agree. Last but not least, we had, I think, 3 drivers one day in Briggs Jr., 4 drivers the next day. Cameron Reed qualifies on pole. She actually sweeps the day on Saturday in terms of getting all the positions. Reed, Cameron Steller, and Peyton Phillips, 1, 2, 3 on Saturday. Phillips actually got the race win on track, was penalized for avoidable contact. That moved Reed in her Ionic Edge chassis to the win and moved Steller up to second. On Sunday, Brooke Berry joined the hunt as well, so there's 4 drivers in the category. Reed again qualifying on pole. Phillips ends up winning the pre-final. All 3 drivers actually, nose to tail. Steller turned things up. They went back and forth all race long. Some last corner excitement, as usual. Phillips ends up coming away with the win. Cameron Steller actually moves to second, and Cameron Reed ends up in third. There was no championship in this one because to get a championship, you had to essentially either run all the races or have 3 drivers at all the races, and there was no juniors at the opening round. So no championship awarded. But 3 drivers that really went at it all weekend long. They have my respect.
I don't think they offered the class at the opener, did they?
They didn't. That was it. Well, it wasn't even an option, right?
Right. So that makes sense. But it's good to see at least a start. And a lot of these racers have the ability to do all the other P1 promotion events in 2020.
And we'll talk about that, folks, after this break. We're going to head to one more commercial break here. When we come back, I'll do a quick little wrap-up. David and I will talk about our EKN Trackside Live race calendar for the remainder of 2019, and we will talk about those races that the French's P1 promotions will be putting on next year.
The Kart Republic has arrived in the USA, and it's been taking the world by storm. Kart Sport North America is the country's importer and distributor for Dino Chiesa's Kart Republic chassis, and as a leader in American karting, they are focused on providing stability for the sport and quality products and service for the community. Kart Republic racked up an unprecedented amount of championships in its first season in 2018, ranging from the SCUSA Winter Series in X30 Senior, the United States Pro Kart Series in Mini Swift and X30 Pro, the FIA European Championship, and the FIA World Championship in OK Senior. Whether you'd like to find out the Kart Republic dealer closest to you or schedule an arrive and drive package with its official North American race team, contact Kart Sport North America through their official website, kartsportna.com.
Are you looking for a new kart shop? One that treats you like you're an important customer? If so, look no further than Acceleration Kart Racing. At Acceleration, customer service is number 1. We are a full-time karting business, not a hobby or an afterthought. We have all the products you're looking for, from kid karts to shifters, safety to speed. We strive to offer our customers the best products, prices, and service. At Acceleration Kart Racing, we're always here when you need something for your racing program. Located in Las Vegas, Acceleration is stocked with a wide range of products. We've been helping racers get the right parts for over 16 years. Acceleration has everything that a kart racer needs, from turnkey carts to safety equipment, engines, and more, stocking all of the leading kart racing brands. Here's a taste of the products that we carry every day. CRG, Tony Kart, Bennett, Rotax, Honda, Miami, MG Tires, Vinco, Bridgestone, Mojo, Alpine Stars, Sparco, Ribtech, and EVS, Tillett, Micron, Alfano, Bell, Arai, Zamp, KG, Sniper, SweetTech, and K&N. It doesn't matter where you live in the country. We will get you what you need so you can get back on the track. Acceleration has a sufficient supply of products to ensure that your order can be shipped the very same day. Our knowledgeable staff is available to help customers 6 days a week, and ordering online is open 24 hours a day at shopakr.com. For visitors and locals in the Las Vegas area, Acceleration has a large showroom full of the best kart racing products available. Come on in and check it out. To find out more about what Acceleration has to offer, visit shopakr.com. Again, shopakr.com. And make sure to sign up to be on our mailing list to receive the latest updates and promotions that we send throughout the season. Again, we're a one-stop shop. shopakr.com.
If you want to drive the best, drive a CRG. Our countless race wins and championships prove this fact, including taking the KZ Finals at the SCUSA Super Nationals and the CIK World Championships in both 2016 and 2017. Our material is second to none. After years of independent American importers, CRG is now managed directly by the factory and run out of our state-of-the-art headquarters in Texas. CRG Nordam is the American arm of the CRG factory in Italy, and we're serious about success. We stock a wide variety of parts in all of our chassis, from the CRG Hero for the mini categories, to the Heron for tag race, the Road Rebel for gearbox competition, and the new FS4, which has been designed specifically for American 4-cycle Briggs racing. If you're ready to step up to the national level, do it with a factory race team that competes across the USA. CRG Nordam is a full factory effort with the best personnel and the finest equipment. We're serious about winning, and you should be too.
Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, capping off this edition of the EKN Debrief. Just a final little wrap-up here. My name's Rob Howden. David Cole joining me from the offices in Grand Rapids, Michigan. David, a couple cool things. Number one, Mark and Gina French getting up in front of everybody when we wrapped up the championship podium presentations. They were kind of emotional because, Gina, both her and Mark do this for a living, and they're very thankful for the sponsors that they have. They've been able to do this deal. It's a lot of hard work putting on these events. As David, as you know, you've been on that side of the line, that side of the drivers' meeting, that side of the program before you came to work for us at EKN. And one of the things after they thanked all their sponsors and thanked all the racers, they came up with a Most Improved Driver award. And the driver getting the award, they've watched him kind of develop over the last couple of years, coming from a mid-pack guy to a guy racing for championships. It was kind of cool. They awarded the Most Improved Driver honor for 2019 to Joey Moss, who runs for Speed Sports. Joey, of course, the family, his brother James runs as well. He's done really well, Joseph. It was kind of a tearful thing for everybody, but it was really cool for Joey to win that Most Improved Driver honor.
Definitely a solid weekend to earn your first victory on the year, probably first career victory for him at Texas Pro Kart Challenge, and to win the Most Improved. I guess it kind of goes along with that award. So finishing 4 podiums in the 6 races that he did this year. So a solid kudos to him.
And another thing that was mentioned throughout the weekend, and they talked about it because we gave a bunch of tickets out free. We drew for free entry and tire tickets to the 3 races. Gina and Mark French, their company P1 Promotions, they will not be doing the Texas Pro Kart Challenge next year. We're hearing word that there may be somebody else doing that, but they're moving on with P1 to have just 3 standalone dates. They're going to bring back the Lockhart Grand Prix, and that has got people fired up like crazy. The street race in Lockhart was a lot of fun a number of years ago. They're going to bring their skill set, their talents, and how they work on a program. That's May 19th and 20th next year. They're going to go back and do another event at the karting facility, Coda Karting, at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. That's set for August 2021. I believe that's going to be under the lights as well, David. That's going to be a night race at Coda. They haven't confirmed it, but I'm assuming it's going to be kind of a 100cc Briggs 206 thing like they did last year. They may throw some shifter stuff in. I'm not sure if that track's big enough for it, but we'll let them come out with that. And the final event, they're going to do a race on September 2021 back to West Texas. They're calling it KartFest Amarillo, and there'll be a bunch of different categories. I guarantee you shifter karts will be on the docket for that one as well. I'm sure it'll be a good cross-section of karting in Texas and beyond. But 3 different races for P1 Promotions in 2020.
Well, certainly the street race is one we've been to. We had a blast down there, just south of Austin, Texas, barbecue capital of the world. So your stomach was in heaven that weekend.
It was.
It was really cool to be there and to because I hadn't been to a lot of different street races. I've done Rock Island, obviously. We did Modesto. We've done Lancaster. So it's interesting to see how different cities and how the streets change over to a racetrack and that town of Lockhart is really cool to be a street race because it has that type of grassroots mentality, and the way the tracks can be laid out and around the town works out great for karting. So different sceneries. I think we were around the courthouse is what I believe was the center of the racetrack. So just to be out, that type of atmosphere and scenery you don't typically have in karting. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do with Lockhart Grand Prix.
And the French family, Gina and Mark have been doing this for a number of years right now. And I, just the way they put on a race, I would definitely sign off on them because I've had a chance to work with them for 2 full years now. They love doing this for the people, for the racers. They want to make sure everything's safe. So I think the safety level is going to be, higher than it ever was. The track itself, street track, kind of leans itself for it. They've got the full support of the council and the city itself, which is obviously massive. This is going to be a big one. I think they're down there actually right now. I think they were heading from the race that we had in Houston. They were rolling through to talk to the folks at Austin about their race. From Austin, of course, just about 45 minutes to an hour down the road to Lockhart. So, I know that they're going to be working very closely. There's a lot of time still, right? There's 8 months till that race in May, the weekend before Memorial Day. That's going to be a big race. Lockhart Grand Prix is one. I just capped off an interview. We did a podcast, a hot seat with Race Liberante, which will have already aired on the EKN Radio Network, very likely by the time we play this or will be coming up. And I asked him about Lockhart because he loved going to Rock Island, David. He says, I'm in Lockhart. For sure I'm in Lockhart. So, and you can be guaranteed that Josh Lane will be carrying that flag as well.
Without a doubt. I think he was one of the proponents. He was at the original because it was another name.
It was. And
it all started outside the Cotton Bowl, I believe, is what the stadium was outside in the Dallas area. Yep. I think that's where this all began.
Dallas Fair Park or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was, and so that was like the most insane course that you could. It was almost like Isle of Man without the streets because it was all through parking lot and access roads, and you got crazy guys like the Hager brothers, and they were even a little timid and not really for the layout. And Josh Lane was like, "Let's go, woo!" And so he was really behind it. He loves street racing. And you can be sure that, and I think they'll be able to draw even grassroots racers who love street racing because
no doubt,
it's the beginning of May or mid-May, and so the season's just starting, and it's coming up before any other street races that are going to happen throughout the year. So that it may draw some drivers from a lot of different states down to Lockhart.
All right, folks, let's cap things off here right now. We'll look at the EKN Trackside Live race calendar brought to you by Comet Racing Engines. Big thanks to Comet Racing Engines for being a supporter of eKartingNews.com. Looking for that extra edge? Comet Racing Engines is your answer. The engine service program from Comet Kart Sales has been winning from coast to coast at all levels and different forms of the sport. Comet Racing Engines continually perform track and dyno tests to provide their customers with cutting-edge engine performance. Trackside and customer support are a cornerstone for the Comet Racing Engines business, ensuring that each and every customer receives personal attention and the help they need to achieve the best results. Contact the Comet team at cometkartsales.com or by calling 317-462-3413. All right, David, let's cap things off here real quickly. I am, a couple of weeks away, a week and a half away from heading to the streets of Lancaster Grand Prix, September 28, 29. You don't go back trackside to do any work until the middle of October, because October 4th, 5th, and 6th, Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals 3 at Newcastle. Another head-to-head showdown.
Hashtag beat Rob Howden.
Hashtag I already beat David Cole.
Hashtag the year's not done.
Hashtag I have the belt.
Ooh, that's a good idea. We should get a belt made up. We should get a belt made up.
Listen, after that, we're both looking forward, of course, to getting to the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals. The funny thing is, everybody keeps saying to me, should I come and race that? Race Liberante. Should I race that?
Yeah.
I go, yeah, get a cart. Come and have some fun. It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to that race.
And again, that's why we do this. It's for fun. You know, it's not, there's no points. You don't have to worry about points. And I think that's why he really enjoyed Rock Island. It's just, you go and race, you know, and it kind of opened Billy Musgrave's eyes. Like, this place is rad, you know, especially the racetrack, because it's completely different from any street race that he's probably done. Well, except Modesto, but
True.
But you know, it's just, you know, it's nice to have these one-offs, because it's about just racing and having fun and just doing what you love.
Hey, where are you after that, David?
So yeah, you mentioned it. WK Manufacturers Cup Series the weekend after the Cup Karts North America race. So I'll be Newcastle back-to-back weekends. 1 weekend racing, 1 weekend working.
Steak and shake both weekends.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, folks, we'll cap everything off. We have a bit of a break after that, essentially a month off before we reconvene at the Rio All Suite Hotel and Casino, November 20 to 24. It is Super Nationals number 23, SuperKarts USA's flagship big show in Las Vegas. David Cole and I, of course, will be there for a full week. We'll have coverage. We'll be doing our Barside EKN live debrief shows. I'm sure David will bust out the ice bucket again, and we look forward to everybody tuning in for that one. David, 3 more races to go on the EKN Trackside Live Tour for 2019, brought to you by Cooper Tires. And yes, I brought out the ice bucket challenge.
Well, you got to save that for Super Sunday, because it is
really
Super Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
you can't. No, you can't. It's Vegas. It's Super Nats. We've learned now to pace ourselves and wait till Sunday.
We have. It only took 15 or 16 or 23 years on my end, right?
That's not going to say maybe the Friday or Saturday night debriefs might not get a little crazy.
They might,
but ice bucket until Super Sunday, because it's super,
I like that,
because it's
tradition. It's a super bucket.
It's a tradition unlike any other.
David, thank you for joining me, buddy. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for calling me, Rob. I'm glad I could be on this debrief with you.
That's it, folks. We have wrapped up the Texas Pro Kart Challenge, the debrief, number 50-something.
56, Rob.
My notes. 56. My notes are all over the place here, dude. I'm in the middle of.
I can tell you seem a little flustered.
4 weekends in a row. Texas Pro Kart Challenge, Road to IndyCar finale at Laguna.
You're just going to Laguna Seca. It's not a big deal or anything.
Well, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. But then after that, Streets of Lancaster. I got 2 days at home to do laundry and repack, and then 2 days at home after Streets of Lancaster. Get on the road in the car, head to Newcastle so I can kick your ass at the Grand Nationals.
I think benefiting on you being on the road for 4 weeks, and that's going to be the last week.
That's a definite possibility. I could be out of mental stability at that point.
I will have the beer ready.
Thanks a lot. There you go, folks. We're done for this edition of the debrief. I appreciate David coming in and helping me out here, so I didn't have to talk for an hour and a half myself. Again, it was a great time down at Texas Pro Kart Challenge. Big thanks to Mark and Gina French for their hospitality all the time, every time I get together with them. Great program and excited for what they've got going with P1 promotions in 2020. We're done. Thanks for listening to the EKN Radio Network, folks. My name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.